I should quit now. It is wonderful to be here with you. That was a stupendous introduction and welcome, and I thank you. We are at a stunning moment in U.S. history. We live in a state of hope and a state of uplifting possibilities. Yet we also live in a state of despair and a state faced with some daunting realities. I address you today with a keen awareness of the possibilities of this season, ready as we are to make a transition from a political regime which challenged our best notions of what is America to one which many people believe will have to really go out of its way to do worse. Though I'm acutely aware of the harsh realities of our contemporary world, I am still inspired by the promise of America. The promise of this nation with its grand vision of freedom and democracy. As I embrace the promise of America, even in the face of the nation's harsh realities, I think first, as we often do, about the children, about my children, parents, educators, caregivers. We all have this cherished, tender place in our heart for our children. I am compelled, therefore, to address you today out of a moral obligation to our children and what this moment might mean for them. There are some facts that should not slip by unnoticed as we enter a new year and as we celebrate the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. January 1, 2008 marked 200 years since the end of the U.S. slave trade. I'm almost sure that for most of us, it slipped by without notice. It slipped by the nation almost unnoticed, but it should not slip by those of us conscious of the fact that the past remains present, acknowledged or not. Number two, just days ago, the New Jersey legislature apologized for slavery. The measure expresses profound regret for the state's role in slavery and apologizes for the wrongs inflicted by slavery and its after effects in the United States of America. In so doing, New Jersey joins Alabama, Maryland, North Carolina, and Virginia, 4 southern states which have so far offered varying apologies for slavery. In this way, then, even though the Congress of the United States continues to resist efforts to offer a national apology, states are beginning to join religious institutions and institutions of higher learning in their efforts to come to grips with their own involvement in this historical American injustice called slavery. Brown University, for example, has paid special attention to its own history, looking at its own involvement and its own benefit from slavery. And here I pause just to make a point, that anytime I discuss slavery in my classes or with my friends or with colleagues anywhere, especially the ones who are white, the first line of response is, I didn't hold anyone in slavery. Therefore, I am not responsible for slavery. Well, one of the issues being raised by apologies like this is that slavery is a historical fact, but its consequences continue to reverberate into our everyday lives. My hope is that these developments, along with the season in which we live, suggest that we are at the end of this political season, which kindled or rekindled in American minds the McCarthy era, the era that Haynes Johnson appropriately called the age of anxiety. We live then in a state of hope and uplifting possibilities. 140 years after Victoria Woodhull, running on the ticket of the Equal Rights Party, became the first woman to run for President of the United States, and 40 years after an assassin's bullet silenced Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., America's most noted moral prophet. And for the first time in the nation's 232-year history, a woman, Hillary Clinton, a white woman, and a black man, Barack Obama, are leading candidates for the office of the President of the United States of America. This is a moment of possibility.